Your baby points at an empty corner and laughs, covers their ears in absolute silence, refuses to look at an ordinary lamp. Science has proven infants perceive the world completely differently. Their eyes see colors unavailable to adults, their ears pick up frequencies beyond your range, and their brain processes information you filter out as noise. Today, we will examine 17 shocking things that only the very young see and hear. First, ultraviolet glow around people and objects. A baby points at you and laughs, waves a finger in the air around your head, reaches for unseen sparks around plants and things, especially in dim light. You see nothing and think it is fantasy, but the lens of a child's eye is clearer and lets through ultraviolet rays in a range the adult lens blocks. With age, it yellows and clouds, becoming a natural UV filter, protecting the retina from harm. But infants lack this protection and in return gain the power to see the unseen. Many flowers that look simply white or yellow to adults glow for babies with bright patterns in ultraviolet. Marks for pollinator insects that also see UV. Some laundry powders contain optical brighteners that make white clothes glow in UV. The baby sees this glow as if the clothes burn with blue fire. Scorpions fluoresce in ultraviolet bright green. Many liquids invisible to adults glow and shimmer for babies like magic. Even human skin has a faint UV glow that is seen as an aura or glow around people, especially clear in dim light. So babies often stare around an adult's head, tracking the glow you cannot see. Second, constant whine from all electronics in the house. The baby cries in a certain room, calms when you leave, winces and covers his ears with his hands near the TV, even when it is off, is uneasy near a phone charger. Human hearing loses the ability to hear high frequencies with age. Babies hear sounds up to 20 kilohertz. By age 20, this limit falls to 16 kilohertz by 40, to 12 kilohertz. Electronics, power supplies, chargers, TVS, monitors emit a high-frequency whine in the 15 to 20 kilohertz range, which is silent to an adult, but to the baby sounds like a constant annoying mosquito buzz in the ear. Energy-saving bulbs buzz at a frequency beyond an adult's hearing, motion sensors, alarms, ultrasonic rodent repellers. All this makes a sound background the baby hears clearly. When a baby cries in a room you think is totally quiet, he is not being fussy. His ears pick up a symphony of high-frequency noises that are real and physically uncomfortable to him, like a jackhammer running nearby would be to you. Third, the world in slow motion like in a movie. A baby catches a fly with bare hands, dodges falling objects with an incredible reaction, and tracks with their eyes fast-moving objects that for you are just a blurred spot. Time literally flows slower for them due to the features of visual information processing. The brain processes the image in frames, like a camera records video, and the more frames per second the brain processes, the slower movement seems. An adult brain processes about 60 frames per second, a child's up to 120, which means what for you happens at a speed too fast to make out details, for the baby happens twice as slowly. A fly that you see as a quick blurred motion flies slowly enough for them to track its path and catch it in the air with tiny fingers. Raindrops that for you fall as a continuous stream are, for the infant, separate drops, slowly falling down. Each can be seen in detail. A fan whose blades for you blend into a blurred circle. For them spins slowly enough to see each blade separately, so babies often stick their fingers into a spinning fan. They see the gaps between the blades and think they will have time to push their hand through. Fourth, faces are in absolutely everything that surrounds them. A toddler points at an outlet and smiles at it, waves at clouds, strokes stains on the wall as if they were living things, laughs at the way items are arranged on the table. Hyperactive pareidolia is built into the child's brain for survival. The human brain evolved to spot faces faster than any other objects because life depended on it. To tell friend from foe, to find the mother in a crowd, to read emotions by facial cues. In little children, this system runs at full power, so sensitive that it fires on any mix of 2 dots and a line. 2 eyes and a mouth, even if it's an outlet with 2 holes and a slot. 2 windows and a house door. A face, car headlights and a grill. A face, buttons on a shirt. A tiny face looks and smiles. The brain sees faces even where there are none, just in case. because it's better to see a face in a bush and be wrong than to miss a real predator or person, which in the wild meant death. This hypersensitivity slowly falls by the teen years, when the brain learns to filter false alarms and stops seeing faces in every outlet. Fifth, smells 1,000 times stronger than in adults. A baby refuses to stay in a certain room, cries and wriggles out of your arms, or wrinkles its little nose at your perfume, which seems light and pleasant to you, or crawls across the house to hidden food. A newborn's sense of smell is 10 to 15 times sharper than an adult's, and in some babies, hundreds or thousands of times stronger, thanks to 40 million olfactory receptors versus 5 to 10 million in adults. Most receptors atrophy with age, when smell becomes less critical for survival, but for babies, the nose is the main tool to learn the world, and smell tells of safety, food, people, danger faster than sight. What for you is a faint scent? For a baby is a strong wave of chemical information, deafening and all-consuming. Your perfume to them is not light but unbearable, as if you had poured a liter of cologne on yourself and stood in a closed room. Rotting food, whose smell you barely notice as a slight sour note, to them stinks so intensely that it is physically impossible to stay nearby, causing nausea and crying. The smell of fear, sweat that contains adrenaline, babies smell it instantly from several meters, so they can tell exactly when an adult is nervous or afraid, even if the face is calm and smiling. Sixth, complete darkness for them is not so dark. You enter a dark room and see nothing, bump into furniture, feel the walls, while the baby calmly crawls, finds toys, and does not bump into things. A child's eyes have more rods, receptors for night vision, pupils dilate more, letting in more light. The lens is clearer and does not scatter light like an adult's clouding lens. All this lets them make out contours and shapes in very low light, where an adult sees only solid black and gropes helplessly in the air. Evolutionarily, this made sense. A baby who could see in the dark could spot an approaching danger at night when the mother slept, or find her in the dark of a cave where there was no fire. With age, as a person starts to use artificial light all the time, night vision sharpness drops. Rods are partly replaced by cones. Color receptors more useful in daylight. When a baby looks into a dark corner and reaches toward it, maybe they really make out the outline of an object or a shadow that you do not see at all in your pitch dark. Seventh, whisper through 3 closed doors. The baby reacts to your talk in the other room, though the door is closed and you spoke very quietly, almost silently, and changes behavior in response to what you discussed. A baby's hearing is not just sharper. It is tuned to human speech with incredible precision, because a baby's brain filters sounds differently than an adult's. The adult brain weeds out background noise, focusing on what matters here and now, choosing one sound stream and ignoring the rest. The baby brain picks up everything at once without filtering. Every sound is potentially important for learning and survival. You can't miss a threat or important information. A whisper through a wall that, to an adult, sinks into the general noise and is not heard, as speech is clear and plain to the baby. Every intonation is heard distinctly. Frequencies of human speech, 2 to 4,000 hertz. Babies perceive especially sharply. This is evolutionarily important for learning language and for sensing adults' mood. Even with other noise, TV, music, street traffic, the baby brain picks out speech and processes it with priority. So parents' talks "so he won't hear" are usually perfectly heard and affect the baby's mood. Eighth, trembling and vibration in motionless objects. A baby looks at a wall with wide open eyes as if seeing something moving there, or watches you intently when you stand completely still. Babies' eyes pick up micro movements that adult sight cannot see. The human body is never absolutely still. Even when we stand quietly, we make tiny oscillations as we balance on 2 legs. Muscles are in constant micro-contraction to hold posture. The heartbeat sends vibration through the whole body via the vessels. Breathing moves the chest and belly. The pulse is visible on the neck and wrists. The adult brain filters these micro-movements as minor and averages the image to a static one to save resources. The child's brain sees everything in detail. Every tremor of a finger, every pulse of a vein under the skin, every body wobble by fractions of a millimeter. The wall really trembles. From building vibrations, passing traffic, the work of the fridge and appliances, wind pressing on the walls, but on a micro level invisible to the adult eye. The adult eye averages the image in fractions of a second, seeing the wall as static and flat. The child's eye fixes each tiny shift of every particle, so the world for them is alive, breathing, constantly moving even when it seems frozen. Ninth, parents lie at the slightest facial movement. You try to fool the baby. You smile and act like all is fine, but he looks at you and starts to cry or turns away or reaches for another person. Babies read micro-expressions at a level beyond most adults. When a person lies, the face for microseconds shows the true emotion before conscious control kicks in and a fake smile is forced. Adults have learned to ignore these micro-expressions, not process them consciously for social ease and politeness. The baby's brain registers every change: a slight press of the lips before a fake smile, a quick tightening around the eyes, a micro movement of the brows downward, pupil dilation, a change in breathing rate. The infant cannot explain how he knows you are lying or nervous, does not understand the recognition mechanism itself, but feels the dissonance between words and the body's microsignals on a deep intuitive level. 10th. Ultrasonic communication of animals as conversation. The baby stares at the silent dog and smiles as if he hears something interesting, or turns his head to a wall where you hear nothing. Many animals communicate in the ultrasonic range above 20,000 hertz. Bats, rodents, dolphins, some insects, even dogs and cats make sounds at frequencies partly in ultrasound. The adult ear does not catch these frequencies at all. To you, the animal is silent or makes vague, muffled sounds. A child's ear hears a mouse's squeak at 40,000 hertz as a thin but distinct sound, a whole mouse song with intonations. A mouse scratching in the wall an adult does not hear at all, or hears as an indistinct rustle. An infant hears every move and squeak clearly like a concert. An ultrasonic insect repeller that for an adult works completely silently and unnoticed emits for the baby an unbearable shriek at the pain threshold, making the baby cry. When the baby is upset in silence or looks at a silent animal as a conversational partner, check for ultrasonic devices, small animals, insects. For the baby, these sounds are real and often torturing or, on the contrary, mesmerizing. 11th. Millions of shades instead of ordinary colors. A baby reaches for items that look the same color to you, chooses one of two balls that seem identical to you, reacts to color differences you do not see. The human eye loses the ability to tell fine color nuances with age. Infants have more active cones, color receptors, and their brain processes color information in more detail, not simplifying the palette. What an adult sees as a solid uniform green, a baby sees as a complex gradient of a dozen different shades from yellowish green to bluish green, each unique. Some babies, tetrachromats, have 4 types of cones instead of the standard 3, which lets them see 100 million shades versus 1 million in a typical person. A baby's world is brighter, richer, more varied in color. What an adult would call simply blue may be a set of completely different colors for the baby that do not blend into one. With age, some receptors degrade, the brain begins to simplify the color palette to save processing resources, and the world slowly fades, losing millions of shades forever. 12th. People approaching a minute before the sound of footsteps. A baby turns its head to the door a minute before you hear the first steps, or starts to fuss before a car drives down the street. Little ones feel vibrations in the ground and air that adults do not sense. A child's body is more sensitive to vibrotactile stimuli. Bones, joints, skin pass the tiniest vibrations straight to an immature but hypersensitive brain. A person's steps make vibrations in the floor that spread for tens of meters before the sound is heard by the ears. An adult ignores this, filtering it as insignificant background noise. A child's brain records and interprets. Someone is coming, a heavy or light person, fast or slow, one or several people. An approaching car makes low-frequency vibrations in the air and ground hundreds of meters before the engine sound is heard by human ears. A baby feels this through the whole body, especially through the soles of the feet if lying down, without even knowing the mechanism of perception. 13th. Colored clouds around people and the glow of the sick. The baby stares not at your face but around your head, moves its eyes along the body's outline, reaches for the space near you, reacts to people differently even before contact. The human body emits a weak electromagnetic field. Heat, vapors, and the mix of UV skin glow, thermal radiation, and the young eye's ability to see ultraviolet creates a visual halo effect. A sick person emits a different spectrum than a healthy one. The chemical makeup of sweat shifts with toxins, skin temperature is uneven due to inflammation, breathing rate is altered. All this affects the glow around the body that is invisible to the adult eye. The baby sees these shifts as a change in color or in glow brightness, so it sometimes refuses to go to a certain person or, on the contrary, reaches for them. Some studies show that infants may perceive biophoton emission, an extremely weak light given off by living cells during metabolism, completely invisible to the normal eye but detected by ultra-sensitive detectors and possibly by baby eyes. 14th. Internal sounds of the body as a symphony of organs. The baby puts its head on your belly and goes still to listen, or presses its ear to your chest and is soothed by sounds you do not hear. A child's hearing is so sharp it picks up internal body sounds. An adult can hear only by pressing a medical stethoscope tightly to the skin. Intestinal peristalsis, food moving down the esophagus, the gurgle of fluids, the bubbling of gases, the work of the liver and kidneys. An adult does not hear these at all or takes them as a vague overall rumble. The baby hears them just by laying its ear on the body. Each sound clear. It can tell exactly where the process is and which organ is more active. It hears heartbeats, not only its own but another's at a distance if it listens closely. Every beat, every valve. Breath, air moving in the lungs, wheezes, whistles, mucus bubbles, all clear like the music of the body's organs. Joints creak and click. When moved at high pitches, adults do not notice or ignore by habit. When the baby presses to your belly and goes quiet, it is not just seeking warmth. It listens to the symphony of your body that calms and fascinates it. 15th. Approach of a thunderstorm and an earthquake hours before. A baby becomes restless, fussy, cries for no visible reason, and refuses to be in certain places several hours before a storm or an earthquake that no one knew about. Babies sense changes in air pressure, the Earth's electromagnetic field, and air humidity many times more sharply than adults due to their unprotected nervous system. Before a storm, the pressure sometimes drops sharply by a few millimeters of mercury, static electricity builds up in the air, making hair stand on end, and the ionization of the air changes. An adult may feel mild discomfort or notice nothing at all and carry on as usual. The baby feels marked physical restlessness, a pressure headache, nausea, pressure in the ears, skin tingling. Its body reacts to the changes as a signal of mortal danger built in by evolution. 16th. Light flicker that drives one mad. A baby cries under a certain lamp, turns away from a phone screen, and is uneasy in a room you think is well lit. Fluorescent and LED lamps flicker at 100 to 200 Hz. They switch on and off hundreds of times per second due to AC. The adult eye perceives this as smooth, continuous light, averaging the flicker automatically in fractions of a second. A child's eye, with a higher frame rate, sees the blinking clearly like a disco strobe. Each on-off irritates the retina. It is physically uncomfortable and painful. It causes eye fatigue, headache, irritation, and nausea with prolonged exposure in only minutes. Old monitors with a 60 Hz refresh rate look normal to an adult and work acceptably without discomfort. For a baby, they flicker unbearably. The eyes tire and water within minutes of continuous viewing. 17th. Invisible friends which they truly perceive. The toddler laughs looking at an empty corner of the room, holds a toy out into the air as if handing it to someone, turns their head following something invisible moving around the room. You see nothing and worry, but besides normal imagination, there is a chance that the infant is interacting with sensory information you are physically unable to perceive at all. A combination of the ability to see UV glow, shadows, and glints unavailable to the adult eye, to hear ultrasound and high frequencies, to sense vibrations and electromagnetic fields. All this creates presences and objects for the baby that you do not see even a hint of. Dust motes dancing in a beam of light invisible to you in the UV range can be perceived as living glowing beings fluttering in the air. Ultrasound from machines, passing through walls and reflecting, can create the impression of voices or the presence of a speaking being.